Hi, thank you, and welcome to another installment of the Dailycoin Crypto Insider, where we speak with the movers and shakers and insiders of the latest crypto projects that you need to know about. Joining me today is JOSIPA MAJIC. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Excellent. And he is the co-founder of an exciting project that we're really thrilled to share with you called REVUTO, and she manages strategy as well as communication for this particular solution. So thank you so much for joining me and taking some time out of your day to speak with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So Josh, if you could just share a little bit about what this project is, REVUTO, and what it strives to solve, if you could.
Sure. So REVUTO is what we call an active subscription manager. And what that means is that we actually control the seasonality of your subscription services. So a bit of a background on the story is that really subscriptions are everywhere around us. I used to be in startups for my entire career. And the first thing that you know as a startup founder is that you get a better valuation for your company if you have subscription revenue instead of transactional or one-off revenue. And what that has done to the industry is that all of the companies, both public and private, big and small, both the ones that should have and the ones that shouldn't have, are now moving to a subscription-based business model. It's simply easier to manage. You learn a lot more about your customer base. It's easier to cross-sell and upsell during time. So it's kind of a no-brainer for the companies. And the interesting bit of it is that it used to be a non-brainer for the customer as well. So back when Steve Jobs first announced, the iPod, it was all about having thousands of songs under your fingertips for only $5.99. And it was such a good deal because it really was 1,000 of songs for just a small monthly payment. But what's happening today is that the services are very fragmented. So in order to enjoy your favorite content, whether it's music, video, film, you don't have one subscription, but you actually have multiple ones. So you have, Netflix for Queen's Gambit, you have HBO Go for Succession, you have all of these different, subscriptions. We all know them, we all have them, because you want to follow all their favorite content. And what's happening as a result is that we pay for them every month, but we don't use them every month. And at REVUTO, we simply think, that's no longer a good deal. And we see the pendulum of control swinging back to the hands of consumers. And our entire solution is really, let's make it simple and intuitive enough for you to get a notification each month every time someone wants to charge a service. Say Netflix wants to charge $9.99, and you simply get to choose in seconds whether you want to block, snooze, or approve. Blocking means you skip a payment for this month, so you keep your profile, you keep all of your preferences, you keep all of your algorithm suggestions that you know and love. But you just get the suspended service, so you don't get to pay for it this month and you don't get to use it for the following month. Approving means you top up your card, you pay for it, and you enjoy the service seamlessly. And snoozing means you actually postpone the decision for a couple of hours or days, and then you get to use the so-called grace period, which for some services, it can be up to only an hour, but for other services, it can actually be up to a couple of days.
Wow. So it's kind of like this payment death by 1,000 paper cuts. You help manage that and let people know when the cut is coming, so whether or not they can decide whether they want to continue with it, pause it, or suspend it. Wow, can I ask where you came up with this idea?
Absolutely. So the credit goes to one of our co-founders, Vedran. He actually was one of the first ones not only to notice the problem, but also he decided to speak to our CTO first. Our CTO actually worked on Mint.com. He used to be a head of AI and machine learning at Intuit, which is a really big fintech company. And he knows quite a bit about subscriptions and transaction classification. And the first thing that he said is, there are workarounds for this problem by using virtual debit cards, but what doesn't exist is a sleek, usable service, because at the end of the day, no one wants to manage all of this ugly stuff. You just want to get a clean service, and you want to have this intuitive and easy to use product, which is exactly why we decided to build REVUTO.
Now, when I looked at your website, it looked like that you have two buckets of offerings. You have a set of services for the consumer, and it seemed like there was also a set of services for business users or business owners as well. Can you talk about the different types of applications that each of those respective audiences need and how they benefit from this particular product, your solution rather?
Absolutely. So the clear distinction here is there are two main trends when we talk about B2C and the B2B side. What's happening on the B2C side is that our primary customer is typically Gen Z. So they're a young individual, they live out of pocket money, which is inconsistent revenue stream. So, today I have a bunch of money, tomorrow, this time I have none.
Right.
And the main thing that I purchase online, especially in terms of prepaid digital goods, which is specifically what is targeted by subscription services, is really all about, my favorite Twitch streamer, my favorite show of the month, my favorite YouTuber that I want to sponsor. And what's happening there is, they have very inconsistent tastes. Let's put it that way. They're not exactly your loyal customer.
Right.
So the main challenge for them is that they actually discovered these walkarounds, and what they have is a million email accounts that they just switch and choose, a million of credit and debit cards from their parents that they interchangeably use. And for them, it's all about, having the luxury of choice and being able to adapt your sources of payment, as well as what do you want to pay this month, in the same way that they want to use it. So for them, it's actually you pay for 12 months, but you only get to use it a couple of months every year. And the primary driver is simply their evolution of their choice and how fast trends are evolving. For the separate segment, and it's typically B2B, these would be our young, urban, educated millennials. And the most expensive services that they use are typically B2B SaaS products. So these are usually business tools for design, marketing, and development. And what's happening there is their work is increasingly becoming more project-based. So although they pay for a service 12 months, they usually use it once every quarter or once every 2 months, only when they ship a project. So although you have Figma for design, you're not logged into Figma every day or every month. You typically ship once every couple of months, and that's when you log into Figma. That's when you need the sharing services. That's when you need all of the premium stuff that's offered in the SaaS product. So as a result, what we see is the consumers are having their own set of problems, the businesses are having their own set of problems, but the common thing that both of these users have is, one is that they have increasing seasonality and increasing fragmentation of the services that they have to use in order to have the full stack as they see it. And the second is that the solution is, again, in the background, creating virtual debit cards, one per every subscription, and by that having a clean overview within the app of saying, this is my Netflix card, I use it only for Netflix. I'll get a notification this month saying Netflix wants to charge $9.99 tomorrow, and if I want to pay it, I'll just top it up, I'll click approve, and in the background we'll top it up just in time for Netflix to take that payment. So it's a simple and intuitive way to control your costs, but interestingly, both businesses and customers have the same problem. They just have different, let's say, origin stories and kind of context.
Right, and scale. But at your same point, at the same point, it makes a lot of sense what you're describing. Just a quick question through listening to your response there. It would seem that your solution, because they're embedding all of their subscriptions in one place, that you're actually creating a very sticky application for them, so that you're making this particular demo more loyal to your particular product. I mean, once they get in, the barrier to leave will be very difficult, I would assume, because they put so much into your particular system and your solution, and they trust it, I would think. That's just my, sitting where I'm in the cheap seats.
Absolutely, and this is described by I don't know if you're familiar with the hook model for general creation of stickiness features
Yes.
within apps. And one of the things that we have, and these are some of the features that are not live yet, we've talked about them previously, and they're quite interesting. One of the features that has the sort of variable reward that changes every time you log in is your seriously free trials. So all of the free trials are
Sure.
free, but oftentimes they're only alluring us to leave our card information, then we forget about it, and then we don't unsubscribe on time, and lo and behold, we're now subscribed. And sometimes it takes forever and ever to get unsubscribed. With free trials, what we have is we have a customized free trial tab that you refresh, and you can, like your Instagram feed, you can refresh it 1,000 times a day if you want to. And by inserting our information, so by using the REVUTO product, you actually know that it will forever be free unless you explicitly confirm otherwise. So unless you explicitly confirm, I want to approve a payment from this and this merchant. So we have created all of these features, some for network and virality effect, some for stickiness, and really the goal is to become their one-stop solution for all things subscription. And the interesting thing is, when we talk about subscription, people think it's just my Netflix, but in reality it's this thing called the subscription economy, where today it's also your insurance company, it's your car company unlocking additional features, it's your wearable devices unlocking different premium analytics, all of these things. So because these subscriptions are growing, according to TechCrunch, 100% year over year, we actually see this becoming kind of an ecosystem. And our main motivation and driver is really to become that one simple app where you have all of your control under your fingertips, and you get to decide, if you want to, get a new free trial every day, or if you just want, you have your own 5 favorite subscriptions, but all you want to do is just manage seasonality.
Wow. That's quite a vision, and it really is very elegant, an elegant solution to a very thorny problem that is just experienced by everybody, and I'm sure every viewer of this particular installment is nodding their head saying, yes, that's what I want. Now, one of the things that I saw that I think is very provocative is the REVU token. Where does that fit into this whole scenario and calculus of this dream and vision that you're building and establishing?
Absolutely. So one of the primary things is, in order to make this happen, in order to issue virtual debit cards, we need to work with banks, with everything from regulators all the way to licensed providers. And the first thing that you see, because we have this, as we call it, fintech part, the fintech leg and the crypto leg, the first thing that you see is just how archaic this fintech solution or this fintech infrastructure is. So although we really work with the best of the best in terms of the issuers and bank providers, the infrastructure is decades old, if not older, and it simply is unfit for the modern users of our product. We definitely see fintech as a future for all things finance and payments. And right from the establishment of the company, we knew that our crypto roadmap will be the one that will be driving innovation faster and more efficiently, simply because that's how the incentives are aligned in the crypto space. In the fintech space, you still have gatekeepers, you still have licensing, you still have approvals, you still have quite slow business cycles, regardless of what you do, because you need to be compliant with all of these rules. But in the crypto space, it's quite open. And, us as builders, we just love that and find that very exciting, because we can build and test and iterate products and features much faster. So the first thing that we wanted to do with crypto is kind of do the obvious thing. And the obvious thing is you should be able to pay for subscriptions with crypto. You shouldn't only depend, we know, and everyone who's in crypto, I guess, knows at least a couple of people who are saying, I don't want to keep fiat money at all. And we want to support that type of user. But also what crypto does in the long run is, apart from enabling us to pay with crypto, enabling us to stake a REVU token and enjoy subscriptions for life or just forget about them, all in all, but also things like microlending and borrowing. So as we discussed with our two primary target markets, there's an obvious use case there. One is that, if you're a Gen Z type consumer, you really may not have the $10 today, but in 1 week time, you'll have them. So being able to subscribe to a premium digital content right this moment, because it's Friday evening, I really want to enjoy it, I really want it, it's a big thing. And on the other side, if I am a younger millennial, if I have some extra cash, why not put my cash to work and be able to provide for that loan, especially because we know it's such a small amount and it's such a safe bet. And a bit of context there, one of the things that our co-founder and CTO did at Intuit is actually provided algorithms and risk assessments for uncollateralized loans. So we connected the dots and we were the first ones to say, yes, we want to make this uncollateralized loan system. And that's why we just thought it's such a good use case, and you can only do that with crypto.
It's brilliant. I mean, when you're talking about providing those micro loans to get someone like a very short bridge loan over to the next week, you're helping people smooth out their cash flow. And
exactly.
Listen, I don't care who you are. At one time, unless you're independently wealthy, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, you've had cash flow where things can be lumpy from month to month, from paycheck to paycheck. And it's not that you're a deadbeat, but it's just a function of you don't have the flow at that particular moment. This is such a great service and feature that you're offering to a particular demographic who could really benefit from it. Like, what kind of fees might be associated with something like that? Is it based on the amount or the duration of payback? Just out of curiosity.
So it depends on all of those things. And to give a bit of context, you have subscriptions that are $5, but you also have, your Bloomberg terminal, which is significantly higher than $5.
Oh, sure. Oh yeah.
Because of those things, there's a different risk profile associated to it. And also, based on what we know about you, we assess it differently. So we obviously know for a fact that some people will be highly dependable, and we know that they will almost certainly make sure that they make their payments on time. We also know that there's a subset of more riskier users, and there's a classical, risk reward approach that each user needs to assess by themselves and decide if they want to accept what's being offered. So that feature is currently being in a closed beta test, which is very exciting. And then we're using all of this data to crunch it and to make sure that we have all the right risk assessments. But as I mentioned previously, because of our CTO's background, and he literally did that both for small businesses and for individual users, we do have quite a good start position in order to be able to do that. The fees will be kind of as low as possible, especially for the end user, but also we need to make sure that because these are very small and short-term loans, we need to incentivize the people who are providing liquidity for these types of loans. So there will be like a dynamic pricing model.
Got it. Wow, that's fascinating. That you've connected all of these dots and connected all these pieces to build this beautiful mosaic of services that would really kind of hit the millennials and the Gen Z right in between the eyes. What a great service. Now, one of the things that I saw, and I'll be honest with you, Josh, you're the first co-founder that I've interviewed or spoken with that has actually launched a project on the Cardano blockchain. Can you tell me why your organization went that route and what you hope to achieve with that?
Sure. Yes, that is quite a provocative thing, depending on where you are. We've heard a range of comments from, that must be a European thing. That's one of the more creative comments that we've heard, all the way to, did they pay you to do that? Like, are you kind of a project funded by Cardano as a company or foundation? And the fact of the matter is, it's neither of those things. So in reality, we have small frequent payments. And anyone who's tried to build anything on Ethereum kind of knows that Ethereum is the first logical choice, especially at the time when we were deciding to build REVUTO. the gas fees made it completely unattainable.
Oh, right.
And you would have, your gas fee would be higher than your subscription fee, and that just makes no sense. Also, the security element of it, just what's the level of, obviously all blockchain companies, especially at some point, do have certain security problems. Us dealing with multiple virtual debit cards, but also the main source of payment, and us working with regulated banks, some of these blockchains were more friendlier than the others. But also something that's very worth mentioning is the fact that the Cardano ecosystem is quite specific. And it is, to say kind of to address the elephant in the room, it is a love-hate. So we know, there's a lot of people who either love Cardano, kind of breathe Cardano, live it. And there's also people who just think it's a ghost chain, there are no projects, nothing is happening there. We obviously belong to the first group. We're big believers in the Cardano ecosystem and what the IOHK or IOG team has done, especially in the last year, especially after publishing the smart contracts or the Alonso hard fork. Yeah. So we're a very happy member of the community. So much that we actually published the first mobile native Cardano wallet, and it's currently the fastest growing wallet in the Cardano ecosystem. So there's quite a number of things that we love about it, but I would say the community and the ethos around it is something that's specific and just was also a good fit for us as a company. So yes, it is a European thing. It is, quite unusual to some people, but we see more and more projects on Cardano. And despite us being the first ever ICO on Cardano, we're happy to see that we're not only the only project now, but there's more and more projects as we go along. And this is why we established what we call our fund. It's a VC of sort. It's our venture arm, where we invest in early stage Cardano projects in order to help them, go through everything that we did. It includes legal support, which is a very important aspect of all crypto projects, but also logistics, technical. Cardano uses Haskell, which is a very esoteric programming language. There's not a lot of people that are familiar with it. So we already made some initial investments in the space. We'll be announcing our first investment in January next year. So we're big believers in the Cardano ecosystem.
I'm a big fan of Cardano. I'm a holder myself of the product, that project. And, when you look, it really has, as you said, a very loyal base. I think the last number I saw was north of 85% of the dispersed Cardano it's locked. People have it staked already because they're true believers, and they're waiting because they really believe in the testing and the scientific rigor, the peer review publications that the Hoskinson team have applied to this particular development of this blockchain. It's superlative and truly unmatched thus far. You mentioned something that I want to ask about. You said that the digital wallet that you launched has been the fastest adapted within the Cardano blockchain. That leads me to ask the question, the solution seems very niche when we're talking about subscriber use case. What kind of traction and uptake have you had thus far?
Yeah, it's an interesting, we hear that a lot, in terms of, it seems like a niche problem, maybe companies have it, but the consumers really have it. Is it that big of a problem? And what we see is really just the pace at which it's growing. So the favorite thing that we love to hear on every pitch is when we start, telling what the project is, what do we do? And then, at least 50% of the audience is like, yeah, I have that one subscription. I really need to, there's that one little thing. I've been subscribed to it for like 5 years. I never use it. It takes my money every month or every year. And I only get that auto renewal email. And then I'm like, oh my God, I should really get that sorted out. That's the type of problem that we see, and we actually see it's one of those use cases that may appear small, but it's massive in size. And just to tell you just how massive it is, So the first thing that we were shocked and so pleased to see is during our ICO, with a very limited marketing budget and with a very modest referral program, we actually got 3 million users on our wait list in a matter of weeks. We had to almost completely cut down the referral program, because the problem that we have now, and it's a problem, again, referring back to the fintech element of it, is that we need to do full KYC on every user. We need to manage the load. We need to make sure, based on different geographies, we're allowed to issue virtual debit cards to users in different geographies, with different currencies, with different subscription services available in that region. Because subscriptions, even if we talk about the big ones like Apple Music, they're still quite localized. So you'll find, 15 to 20% of all of the European countries either still not having Apple Music or having a very localized version of it. So the first thing that we were shocked as a team is just how massive the response and the adoption rate was. And that kind of brings us to our big ethos and just a philosophy that we have within the company, which is we want to be a Web 2 kind of use case and experience, but actually a Web 3 product. And what we mean by that is we're learning from our best competition, which is from the user experience side, it's the neobanks. So it's Nubank in Latin America, it's Revolut in Europe, it's all of these, it's Monzo, it's all of these sleek neobanks that is, just 5 or 6 clicks away from being fully onboarded, doing full KYC, being able to, receive your first payment, make your first payment. It's all a wonderful kind of user experience study that's been made by the neobanks. But what's lacking clearly in crypto and most of the Web3 products is that they're not that enjoyable to use. They're not that simple to use. We all know, love, and use MetaMask. We know, all of the pros and cons of it. But what we want to do is we want to bring it all to a Web 2 interface. We want to make it mobile, we want to make it very intuitive, and we want to make it very fast and simple, because it's our true belief, and we know that from our user analytics, is that for most of our customers, will be the first point of contact with crypto. And the way we want them to perceive not only making crypto payments, but also interacting with different types of crypto products, is that it's just as simple as using a neobank app. So it's very fast. You don't need to know what's happening in the background. It's all nicely tucked in. And that's really how the users want to have it.
Fascinating. We've got two last questions for you. And you mentioned that you believe that REVUTO is going to be a on-ramp into crypto for many people for the first time. So if someone was interested in securing the REVU token, where would they do that? How could they do it? Is it only available through the app? Talk me through that process.
Absolutely. So any day now, we'll be listed on several tier 1 exchanges.
Nice. Centralized? Okay.
Centralized, yes. So one of the things that we had to do through our ICO is, first of all, not only because we were the first ICO on Cardano, but also because of the simplicity and ease of understanding our product and just the use case of it. Our ICO was sold out in seconds. Literally, one of the rounds was literally seconds, and it was both a stressful but also a very exciting moment for the entire team. We're now preparing for getting listed on several of these centralized exchanges. So in a very short period of time, that will be the best place to get our REVU token. And in order to follow the announcements, I would kindly suggest the listeners to follow our official social media channels, so they'll be the first one to know.
Got it. One last question I have for you, and it sounds great that you've kind of teed up and kind of given us a peek that you will soon be listed on a variety of different centralized exchanges. Very exciting. What's next on the development roadmap for the REVUTO team, and where you're headed and where you see the vision going forward?
So we have a very ambitious roadmap, and the roadmap is ambitious both on the, as we call it, fintech side and on the crypto side. As I mentioned previously, our CTO has incredible experience in this exact space. So apart from offering micro lending and borrowing, apart from offering things like your free trial tab, which will surprise you with new actionable suggestions on what you can join free of charge, we'll also offer certain features, especially in regards to family packages, all of those things that we know, love, and exploit in different chat messages and different, WhatsApp and similar apps. Where we want to go is really making sure that all of that is simple and easy for you as the user. So in terms of what do we have in store for next year, there'll be more interesting features that will close the loop of anything and everything subscription related. And that's what we have for the user. What we have for kind of ecosystem and everything in regards to where we are in this space. We'll be making investments, especially in the subscription space and for Cardano DeFi projects. We do it for a strategic reason. So first to support the ecosystem, but also to work with the best. So to be able to offer those services to our user base and to make sure that, our users again have the best of the best. We'll also have some surprises, which will be announced in Q1. So we'll be offering some new products that are not on the roadmap, not on the official white paper. So kind of altogether, it will be a very exciting year, and it will start really as early as early Q1.
Well, that's great. Those are all the questions that I had. Is there anything that you'd like to add that you would think would be important or germane to our viewers that I haven't addressed that you would like to get across?
I would like to invite all of the listeners that like REVUTO and that are interested in the product first to download our app. It may not offer all of the features because I said we're currently in the invite-only mode, so you need a referral code in order to get in. But for all of those who are interested, we would invite them to join our social media channels because that's where you get all the information first. So especially Discord, Twitter, Telegram, we have one of the biggest communities in Cardano, so it's quite an interesting and dynamic community, and I think the users who like this project will find it very interesting.
Well, it definitely is a very interesting project that I've heard, first that I've heard of again on Cardano, and it really seems to solve a very real problem that a lot of us have experienced, an everyday solution for an everyday type problem. So thank you to my guest, to our guest at Dailycoin Crypto Insider, JOSIPA MAJIC, co-founder of the REVUTO project. Thank you again so much for joining us. We hope to speak with you again once you're listed and once all these new exciting things start rolling out.
Same. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this lovely conversation. And absolutely, I'm looking forward to getting back next year and to report on all of the things that we've done.
Outstanding. And to our viewers, be sure to like, click, and subscribe. And until our next installment of the Dailycoin Crypto Insider, that's all for now. Take care.